In this video, I'm going to be reviewing and giving you my thoughts on the Blade of the Immortal anime that I just finished. Of course, before we get into that, if you're a fan of my channel and would like to help support it, then please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of my new videos. I talk about movies, TV shows, gaming, anime, and all kinds of pop culture stuff, and I try to upload 3, 4, or even 5 times a week. So with all of that being said, let's get into it. So for this anime, I thought it was great. Overall, I thought it was pretty solid, and I do definitely want to recommend it. But let me tell you a little bit what it's about, and there's not going to be any major spoilers in this review. It's just going to break it down a little bit in my overall thoughts in the good and the bad. Blade of the Immortal is about a man named Manji. He is an infamous swordsman in feudal Japan who is known as the 100-Man Killer, as he has killed 100 innocent men. At least that's what we're told in the story. However, there is something more frightening than his ominous reputation: the fact that he is immortal. This is the handiwork of 800-year-old nun Yaobikuni, or something like that. I guess that's how you say her name. She's basically an old hag who placed bloodworms capable of healing almost any wound in Manji's body. To atone for his crimes, Manji resolves to kill 1,000 evil men. Yabukini agrees to this proposal, saying that if he succeeds, she will undo his curse of immortality. Soon after this promise, Manji meets Rin, Asano, a 16-year-old girl who requests Manji's assistance in killing those who slaughtered her parents. Initially reluctant, Manji refuses Rin's desperate plea. However, after he sees her evident lack of strength, Manji changes his mind and agrees to protect Rin for 4 years. With this partnership set up, the two of them embark on a perilous journey of bloodshed, vengeance, and redemption, and to fulfill one another's life course. I think this anime had a lot of great things about it, so let's start with the good. First of all, I think that the animation was pretty solid. It was about 4 or 5 years old now because it came out last October. I say last October in 2019, so that's about like 5 years ago now at the time of airing of this video. But the animation's pretty solid. I think the voice acting is good. As I watched the dub version, it has 24 episodes, and there are 2 versions of this anime out. I watched the OVA, and the OVA has 24 episodes. All of them are fully dubbed. There is another one that isn't the OVA, and I haven't checked that one out, so I don't really know anything about it, but it only has 13 episodes. So I watched this one, and like I said, it was pretty solid. The animation's good. I think the story is okay. It's not amazing, but I think it's fine. There's a couple things that you want to know going into this anime, though, for sure. It is a very realistic but very brutal kind of dark world. There are some fantasy elements, but the only fantasy elements regarding is mainly surrounded Manji, the main character, with the fact that he's immortal. What I mean is that there's some drawbacks and pros and cons. Basically, if you were to cut off his arm, if he picked it up, he could reattach it and it would work just fine. And so there is obviously a huge fantasy element there, but that's about it. There's a little bit more when it comes to the combat. You know, you got people, it's an anime, they're like jumping in the air and doing these larger-than-life kinds of feats with weapons and different styles. So there's a little bit of fanciful elements there, but the rest of it is more realistic and kind of hardcore. But the world that is displayed is brutal, and this is a very adult anime. What I mean by that is that basically it's not adult in the sense of, say, Devilman Crybaby, where you have, you know, there's a lot of blood and guts, but then there's like boobs and a lot of sex everywhere and all that kind of stuff. There are some adult themes like that, but it's more just dark. Like, it's a very dark kind of world. There's certainly a lot of blood and guts. There are people being dismembered, heads being cut off, arms being cut off, just people ripped in half. but there's other things as well. It certainly, for women, it displays women kind of in this feudal Japan overarching storyline that they're in a tough spot, and life is certainly harsh for the men too. But there are scenes in this anime where it gets kind of dark. There are women who are abused in different ways, for example. There's some hardship, a lot of very real world kinds of things that you would expect when it comes to that stuff. But there are other times, and they display that for the men too. But there are, of course, other times where some of the women are strong and some of them are capable fighters, like you have ninjas and stuff. This is not a woke anime, though. You're never going to get a scene where there is like this strong and independent woman who is just larger than life and just a Mary Sue, or no woke elements like that at all. It's faithful. The ladies in this, they have character, they have their own faults, they have their own stories, but there are certainly times to where there's a more darker aspect of life. And for the men too, everyone is just kind of like, no one is just purely good. There's both good and bad on both sides. And so you've got a lot of that going on. So before you go into it, you kind of want to know that there's some sexual themes. There's certainly a lot of violence. It's filled with violence. There's some politics going on, and it's just a dark world, just very dark. So I'm not saying that as a negative or anything. You just kind of want to brace yourself going into it and expecting that. But overall, I thought the story was pretty solid. What are some of the negatives? And I might get back into the positives, but some of the negatives about it is, well, it's kind of one of those animes that's good, but it's not great. In other words, this is a fun anime that if you don't have nothing else to watch, or maybe you're just kind of looking through a list of things and you're not sure what to pick, this is a safe bet. What I do is sometimes I'll be, cooking, and I cook a lot, and I like to pick a specific cooking anime. Not that the anime has anything to do with cooking, but it's like this is the anime I watch whenever I'm cooking, for an hour or however long, and I finish it up when I'm eating and stuff. And if it's a really good anime, then I don't just watch it when I'm cooking. I watch it when I'm doing other stuff. I watch it when I get off work. I check it out all the time. If it's a really, really good anime, then when it's finished, I'll jump into the manga to continue the story because I want to check it out. This one didn't really do that for me. I enjoyed it all the way through, but it wasn't great. Like, I kind of took it in spurts, I guess you could say. I would watch it for about an hour or two, and then I was just kind of done. I thought, well, that was a nice, 3 or 4 episodes. Let's move on to something else now and check something else out. And I think its strength was really in the first half. And I don't normally say this about animes, but I think this one could have been better if it was actually condensed and shortened a little bit. Normally, when I see 24 episodes, I'm like, man, this is awesome. This is great. The more the merrier when it comes to anime. But I think if it was condensed, and I don't know how the other one is, maybe it's better because it is only 13 episodes. But about halfway through, I started to tune out a little bit, and I was still invested enough to where I wanted to finish it. But the thing is one of the strengths about this anime is Manji's relationship with the girl, Rin. They really develop this great kind of almost big brother, little sister kind of relationship. And Manji's great. He's the best part about this. Manji has the character of, he's kind of like a guy's guy. He's like a bro guy. He's not this stoic samurai. He's not this, real quiet person. He's the kind of guy who, if he walks outside and it's raining or something, he's gonna be like, oh shit, something like that. Like when he gets cut or hit or something, he's like, oh god damn it, that hurt you. Something like that. Like he will just say what is on his mind. He's vulgar, but that makes him very relatable, and he has a decent dry sense of humor. So in this dark feudal Japan, swords and samurais and shogun, this kind of world, the setting that it's set in, his almost lightheartedness is a beacon, and every time he's on screen, you want to watch him. And so he's very interesting. Not that he's a happy-go-lucky character. He's not at all. But he's sarcastic, and he complains a lot, and it's good, and it really works for the story. And his connection with Rin works out well. But after the first half, for the first half, the two of them stick together, and there's a lot of good back and forth. But then they kind of break up, and then it starts introducing other characters like a general, and then there's a villain, and then there's these ninjas, and it starts kind of scattering. And I guess you could say that the story overall gets a little bit mucky. Like, it's still interesting, and you still want to follow everyone, but there's a lot of different stuff that starts happening, and you start feeling a certain repetitive nature of everything. You know, as far as Manji, when he gets cut up or loses an arm or a limb and then grows it back and wins the fight, that's cool the first 2 or 3 times, but then it gets a little repetitive. Whenever Rin is put in a very difficult circumstance to where she has to overcome and have a lot of courage, and the fact that she's a woman adds on top of it, and it's very difficult. You know, after the first few times, it's like, wow, that was a very good character moment building. But then she has more and more, and it's like, okay, it gets a little bit more repetitive. So it wasn't bad. I'm not saying it was horrible or anything like that. But after about halfway through, and you start repeating similar elements, I don't know, I just kind of tuned out a little bit here and there, and it took me a little bit longer to finish it. So I enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot of combat, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of samurais, a lot of swords. No other fantasy elements other than the fact that Manji, again, can heal. There's no magic, there's no magical creatures or nothing like that. It is very realistic and set in this dark world. I enjoyed it. I highly recommend the anime. Like I said, the one I watched was the ONA version with the 24 episodes, all dubbed. I think the dub voice acting was very well done too. And I think it had a pretty satisfying conclusion. And for just walking into this and not really knowing much about it, I stuck with it. I wanted to finish the story, and it has some great moments in there. It just, as far as a thumbs up, it wasn't amazing. So I don't really rate a lot of things on like a scale. But if I were to rate this, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. Maybe, yeah, I'd say a 7 out of 10. So I recommend it, and it's worth checking out. And that's my review of Blade of the Immortal, but I'd love to know what you guys think. Have you seen the other one with 13 episodes? Or have you seen this? Let me know what you think. Which one's better? Have you watched this one? Do you like it? Do you agree with my overall review of it? What was your opinion? And tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Be sure to write that in, it helps the algorithm. And don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button. All you have to do is make a YouTube account, which is free, and then hitting the subscribe button is also free, and it really helps me out a whole lot, guys. So that's going to be it for today, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great freaking day.